Well, everybody, we've had our coffee break. I've actually had some coffee today, some cold coffee from Costco. You know, they don't pay me to say that, but it's, and Chris has had some water, I believe. Now, Chris, you had a question for Pat that's a little bit off the subject, but go ahead and shoot. We'll answer it as best we can, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Pat's avatar on Twitter. I declared it one of the greatest avatars on Twitter, only along, if not the best, alongside there's a guy called what's he called? Chips for the Poor. So Pat's avatar and Chips for the Poor are the two greatest avatars on Twitter.
I recognize that name, but I can't remember what his avatar looks like. Like, I know what my avatar looks like. I know the name, but not the avatar. But I know what my avatar looks like. It's this.
I think yours
22 years younger. I think.
Yeah. Why don't you explain what happened?
What is it? How did you make that brilliant thing?
Well, we decided that I needed a website, and we decided it was going to be patshead.com, and it needed a spinning head like Bill Nye. But,
and this is like 20 years ago, correct?
Right around 20 years ago. Like the end of 1999, early 2000 was when we took those pictures. We did it in the office. We got a tripod. We set it up. I mean, this was a digital camera that did like, 640 by 480. This was not a nice camera. I sat on an office chair and, I spun around. We did like 16 of them. Click, click. We just took 16 or so pictures. And, boy, I traced around my head to cut it out, and it was a lot of work. It took hours to do that the first time.
It's an absolute masterpiece.
And anywhere that lets me upload a GIF as my avatar, I upload it, and if it works, I'm excited. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes they let you upload it, but it's just my head to the side. It just shows this frame for some reason, and that bums me out. But when it spins, forget it. I'm excited.
It's mesmerizing.
Thank you.
It is. Yeah, I remember, Pat, before we really knew each other, like, I saw you on Twitter come up once or twice. I was like, patshead.com, who's this guy?
It's amazing.
And now I know you pretty well, so you're a...
It's amazing. Every few months, somebody tweets and says, how do I get an animated avatar? And you have to say,
how do I get my head rotating?
Yeah, you can't do it anymore.
You know, people have their various complaints about Twitter, but I feel like the thing that needs to be, resolved is put the animated things back on Twitter. But then again, if that happened, then Pat wouldn't be as special as he is now. So
no,
I guess,
Jeremy, you don't want to make me any less.
It's a very special thing. It's like one of the 7 wonders of the world, but it's like one of the 7 wonders of Twitter. Is Pat's head rotating when he tweets?
I'm going to start telling everybody that. I hope they.
Yeah, you're gonna have to clip that out, Pat, and just post it on your Twitter or something.
Yeah, just by itself, just those 10 seconds.
Please do, I'm a huge fan. It makes me giggle every time I see it. It's just the best thing ever. What software did you use? Like, what platform was that on?
The GIMP, the GNU image manipulation program, back when it was pretty new back then. Too. But then I know I had to use something like, what was it, Gifsicle or something to put it together. I'm not sure about that. Maybe Gifsicle recompressed it to make it a little smaller without losing quality or something. I don't remember. This has been so long. And it's not a transparent background. I wasn't smart enough to do that. It's a white background, I think. And I might be lying about that. I might have both.
Circa 2000, if you were smart enough to make an animated GIF, period, you were, well above.
But yeah, it was me and the hamster dance back then.
Wow, I haven't heard the words hamster dance for about 15 years.
It's been a while. I think we're all dating ourselves here.
Yeah.
Hey, so before we get into some of your other background, Chris, I wanted to ask one more musical question, and let's just say, you maybe wanted to get into, you don't even know, but it's like, electronic music is pretty cool, but I like music in general. What would be the instrument or 2 instruments or 3 instruments, or even just musical training in general that you would say somebody should look into?
Like me, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. I almost brought a bucket from the garage to show everybody that maybe that would help. But if I wanted to play digital electronic music somehow, what kind of toy should I buy?
Okay. Oh, if you want to make electronic music, yeah. Well, I think you already have the gear. You already have like a computer or a laptop, I imagine. So there's plenty of free bits.
What if I wanted to buy hardware to make me feel cool, to make it feel like I'm a musician?
Yeah, I get that. I'm still trying to do that myself. Go to a shop, go to a store, and try out like what they have in a synth shop, and see which things like resonate with you. See which gear like jumps out at you. That would be my main piece of advice, because these stores are all there to like sell gear. You don't necessarily have to buy it from them, but there are so many places you can just walk into and try out their synths or their drum machines or whatever. And yeah, I think if you want to go down hardware, that's a great route. You can definitely check out websites like Sonic State if you want to know what the latest new gear is, or like what's like an amazing piece of gear. You can look back through the reviews that Nick Batt's done. Nick Batt is like an absolute god of a human being. He's an absolute industry legend. So like his reviews are second to none, I think, in the industry. But also to kind of answer Jeremy's the question Jeremy asked, which was a slightly different, is I would always say like, what music do you want to make? Like, what type of music do you want to make? And maybe what music do you want to emulate? So for me, picking up the guitar was a huge deal for making music, and because I was able to play all those rock songs that I absolutely love by myself with just a guitar. And Vince Clarke of Depeche Mode and of Yazoo and Erasure, he uses a guitar all the time for composition. So he always starts his tracks with a guitar, because he knows that the basis of the musical basis behind the track is there. Having made it on a guitar. Sometimes I think with electronic music you can get the equipment to kind of do the melody for you in a way, and that's really good for getting starting. But I think if you want to really make music which moves people, which has like suspense and release, which has tension and like euphoric moments and depth, I think knowing musical theory is eventually very useful, and things like the guitar and the piano are good places to start. But you don't necessarily need to have lessons which teach you how to play a certain thing. You can just pick them up and be motivated by the songs that you love and play them.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was thinking. You to just, like my kids, my son's been playing piano, and he likes electronic music, and I'm like, I think he saw the track with the guy was using industrial robots and playing music and stuff with it, and I was like, yeah, if you piano and everything else like that, if you learn the theory and stuff, you could do something like this too. And hopefully I'm providing the right guidance. I guess what I'm getting at is it good to have a musical background as far as piano or even guitar? If you have that, does it help you step into electronic music better, or is that kind of all tangential?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, that, because you do kind of need it eventually. However, don't let that be a hurdle or like an obstacle to entry, because everyone starts off not knowing anything about whatever they do. So just picking up a guitar and just playing some random things is great. And same with the piano. You can kind of feel when it's working and when it's not. Even if you're like Pat with his bucket empty of music, I'm sure that you could sit in front of a piano, Pat, and like put something together and be inspired by music that you love.
Chris, I don't want to brag, but I could play Guitar Hero on Expert.
Whoa. Okay.
But
I didn't realize that's what we were dealing with.
That's
okay.
Not creating anything, though. That's just repeating.
No, that's highly skilled. That's highly skilled. Have you seen people? I've seen a guy. I don't know if he's speedrunning Guitar Hero, but he's playing like the highest ever level of Guitar Hero, and he completes it perfectly. And it's probably the most one of the most impressive kind of speedruns things I've ever seen.
I'm not that good. I could get through that song with enough. They give you so many errors you could make, and it's been a long time. I don't remember the name of the really hard song and the really hard Guitar Hero, but I think I've made it through crazy. And been amazed, and then you put the guitar down.
I think that
song name is on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember.
It's like a metal. It's a metal song, isn't it? I'd just like to point out at this juncture that there is a video of me using a Xbox Guitar Hero controller as a MIDI instrument on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I managed to get it wirelessly sending MIDI to like an arpeggiator, and I'm holding down the notes. And this was about 10 years ago on my rubbish YouTube channel.
Well, I think everybody has that view of at some point. It's like,
I want to tell you guys the name of the song. I'm wrong though. My mind is saying something to do with fire and ice, but that's Game of Thrones.
Dragon?
Yes, but that might be the band name has dragon in it.
Because I feel like there was also like a Metallica, like not quite
I think
Metallica,
it might be
Metallica.
If you kind of Google amazing Guitar Hero speedrun, you'll see the one. But it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it definitely takes some skill. It's always, I guess I always think like you learn skills, and it's like, how does that translate to like other things in life or something you might be able to use? Yeah, because talk about guitar, and I've actually been picking up the baritone ukulele just because I used to play bass guitar long ago, and it's like, well, 4 strings, that makes sense to me. But then it's like you start looking up songs, and it's like, some of these I can't really play because they're for guitar. So
yeah, have you got a good singing voice, Jeremy? You've got quite a deep voice.
Oh, thank you. I suppose I do. I don't want to toot my own horn.
I was just going to ask you to demonstrate for us, Jeremy.
No, I'm not going to do that. But thank you. That's nice of you to say.
Yeah, I think it would go well with I mean, the ukulele is a cool instrument, and I think that is a really nice thing to pick up because it's so like mobile. You can just take it anywhere, and you can. Yeah,
well, that's the thing. It's like if I'm doing something else, or if I'm watching football, or I was gonna say watching football or watching my kids, because that's the same thing. You just play along a little bit. And
Jeremy used to try to take a full-size piano with them when he went to parties and stuff, but it was just too much work, so he switched to the ukulele.
Yeah, it's very impractical. Although 10 out of 10 for effort.
Oh, yeah, thanks. It's I tried to switch the upright piano after using the baby grand because but neither of them really worked too well.
that 20th floor apartment party was a difficult one to get the grand piano, but I appreciate that. Can I just 2 things I can kind of segue for you here into something else, which I think we might talk about. So also though, I would like to maybe just recommend some things that are electronic that people might like to buy. That I didn't kind of give any specific things. So the Volca series, the Korg Volca series, are amazing electronic music devices. People, I've heard people speaking about them blind, listening to them, and they think that it's amazingly expensive gear. But the Korg Volca series, the Volca FM, the Volca Beats, the Volca Bass, they're absolutely amazing. They're really small devices. They're battery operated. They've got speakers built in, and you can sync them all together. They're super good.
Yeah,
they're really
just looking
fun.
that up now. That looks pretty sweet.
Also, the Pocket Operator series from Teenage Engineering. They're really small, funky devices which you can take anywhere, and you can record. You can record into them. One of them's a sampler. There's what else would there? I mean, the Roland have reissued a lot of their classic drum machines and synths. Behringer, of course, kind of controversially reissuing everything that's ever been made, but at a very affordable price level. This
Teenage Engineering thing, I had one of these in my office last month.
It's amazing.
We had it under a soldering iron and a heat gun back here. This thing that looks like a kid. It's got a little LED screen on it. It's the first thing that comes up when you go.
Looks like a calculator, but it's... can you like sample stuff with it? Or how does this...
There is a sampler, and while I was traveling, I took it with me. And yeah, you can sample into it. It's got a line input, so you can put a jack into it, or you can record using the mic. And it has an amazing feature, right? So you can record in two ways into it. You can record a sound in just one sound, and then play it back on the keys, or you can record a sound in, and when it's finished recording, it will divide your sound up into 16 sections and immediately put them on the 16 keys. So you can just like say anything at all, like blah, 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 into it, stop recording, and then that whole phrase will immediately be on the keys. And it's just so much fun.
That's so cool. So you could say like, or you could even record somebody saying something, and then you could just like, and like change around what they said. You know,
it you could reorder the sentence. Yeah. The KO, that's the KO, the sampler is. But they're all good. The arcade is for like chiptune sounds. Honestly, somebody who I know had a 13-year-old child, and he'd never made any electronic music. And I suggested getting the pocket operator KO for her son, who was 13. I don't know if I mentioned that. And he absolutely loved it. He was sampling his mum, he was sampling me, he was sampling himself, and he was just in this world of like pure creative exploration with it.
I'm picturing awesome. Gene from Bob's Burgers running around with his little keyboard.
Yeah, that's, if they could get a like product placement, that would be perfect. Well, that's awesome.
So there's some recommendations.
Nice.
Just to segue for you. This is the segue now.
Sure.
I wanted to just suggest some gear because I didn't mention anything. So Guitar Hero. I interviewed for my podcast a girl called Cheryl Panero, and she's a secret character in the Guitar Hero series. That's one of her like things on her bio. She's in one of the bands. That's like one of the secret bands. And,
I didn't know there was such a thing even. That's cool.
Neither did I. I have to say, unlike Pat's expertise, I've not ever owned a Guitar Hero game, although I do own a ton of computer games. But yeah, Cheryl Panero, she was the first person I interviewed on my podcast. She was like kind of the inspiration to start it in a way, and yeah, she was a secret character in Guitar Hero.
I feel like if you've got a name that rhymes as well as hers, you have to be I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It just rolls off your tongue. That's nice.
Exactly. Cheryl Panero, she's German Filipino, and she's not only is she absolutely beautiful, but she's an incredible bass player and a wonderful person. Amazing person.
Well, that's great. And as you were saying, so you did a podcast. I believe you did about 50 episodes, and you got to meet some really neat people. I know Pat and I were talking. We've heard of a lot of cool people, but who we'd heard of was Norman Cook, who's not related to me, but is also known as now I'm blanking on this, so I guess
Fatboy Slim.
Fatboy Slim, exactly. Slim. So yeah, you get to talk to him. That was a cool interview. And you said, so some of these people, when we do this podcast, it's like some people are good interviews, and say it's great.
Everyone is a good interview, Jeremy.
Everybody is a good interview, especially
exactly.
Exactly.
Except this one.
But I guess what you were saying was some people have become your friends afterwards, which I feel like that too. It's such a cool cool thing.
It's an amazing thing that I didn't expect, was that actually some people who are huge superstars have kept in contact, and I've kept in contact with them, and that was totally unexpected, really. Some of the people that I spoke to, Fatboy Slim, that was like a life-changing moment. Infected Mushroom, DJ Rap, Andrew Huang, that was pretty massive. Dave Clark, Tim Exile in the early days, that was incredible. CJ Bolland, one of my absolute heroes. It's amazing that some of these people I'm still in contact with. Yeah, DJ Rap, I did some animations for her after we spoke. Yeah, and I was just like, like walking around the neighborhood I live on the phone to DJ Rap and just thinking, how the heck did this happen?
Yeah. Wait, so you do animations too? You do that? you said?
Yeah, I do live visuals. I really enjoy doing visuals at gigs, and I do that at the moment. I do that for free for bands that I like. So if I see a band and I like them, I offer to do visuals for them for free. And I've done that for a band called Hanya, who you should definitely check out. Hanya are an amazing band from Brighton, absolutely stunning. Sort of when I first saw them, they reminded me of the Jefferson Airplane. But now they've kind of gone beyond that, and they're their own thing, and yeah, I really recommend them. Also, Yumi and the Weather is another one that I've done visuals for here in Brighton. She's an incredible singer-songwriter who I also interviewed on my podcast, and yeah, an incredible person with, you know, like many of us, like all of us, and I'll freely admit that I have difficulties in my life and struggled with all kinds of different things that are not like clearly visible. Yeah, she's very open about her struggles in life, and yeah, she's an amazing singer-songwriter, is Yumi.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, it's you know, I started listening to it, and then you seems like you've kind of, I guess, taken a break at least. Would you like to talk about why you decided to kind of give it up for the time being?
Absolutely. It was kind of a strange time to end it, maybe from the outside in, because I was starting to interview like huge people. Right,
because you interviewed Fatboy Slim, like, this is awesome, and then no more. I'm like, what?
It was. Anyway, I'm sure you guys are aware of like how much time goes into it. I'm notorious for over preparing for things, and I wanted to make sure that every guest on my show had like the utmost respect, that I'd completely researched their career, and I knew basically almost everything about them, because I didn't want to disrespect them in any way. I didn't want to come across as like a journalist who was just into their sort of juicy stories. So I took a huge amount of time to prepare for every interview, regardless of the size. And it was, it was a massive time. It took a massive amount of time to not only prepare for, but also, to interview and then to edit myself and to promote myself. And I hated listening to the sound of my voice. I'm going to hate watching back to this, but that was a factor in it. I was like, I'm sick of hearing myself talking now. I've done 50 of these. It was a weird time to end, because the guests were getting massive, and it was like High Contrast was one of the ones near the end, and like, you know, he's world famous drum and bass DJ. But for me, it was the amount of time that it was taking me versus like having to do my work, having to do my day jobs. It was I just felt like 50 was a really good number to end on, and I've not put a lid on it, but I think if it were to come back, it would be in a different form. Yeah, that was the other thing. So the format sort of, I got a bit tired of the format as well, kind of asking them in the beginning, like, what was your earliest memories of music? Which is a cool thing, you know, it's quite a cool thing to say, but I just felt like I'd sort of fallen into a formulaic trap with what I'm doing, like,
right.
So yeah, and I just needed a bit of time off. There were some weeks. I mean, don't get me wrong. It basically saved me through lockdown, and I know lots of people have these stories of things that saved them during lockdown. But for me, it was the podcast, because, you know, we all had quite a weird and solitary and isolated experience during lockdown, and I was somehow able to speak to my absolute heroes, and it was mind-blowing. And the Norman Cook interview was mind-blowing. It was just phenomenal to be sat in his kitchen being asked if I would like milk and sugar in my tea by one of my absolute heroes. It was just crazy.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I guess it was, you know, I'm listening to him like, wow, this guy's actually in his house and, you know, hanging out with them. It's like another level. And then the other thing, you know, I listened to it. I was like, wow, this guy really prepares too. I was like, you kind of put us to shame, or at least me. Pat, I know he puts in hours and hours when I don't.
Well, days.
But
I try to do a little less, Jeremy, because I feel like if I'm too prepared sometimes, you know, there's no, I don't know, spontaneity is the wrong word, but you know, it feels.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It doesn't feel
no,
fresh.
I agree with that, because, you know, we were talking before the show, and I was like, oh man, we got to start recording this, because, you know, you start like kind of having some off the cuff conversations, and all of a sudden it's good stuff that everybody would want to hear.
Exactly. Yeah, we did, just in the chat before we started, I did say that I think some of the best interviews were some of the best conversations were done before we started recording, and in many cases afterwards. There was one particular interview where we spoke for an hour after the interview, and that was with Dave Spears, who's with G4 Software, and it was and still is an amazing thing that I'm really, really proud of doing. And but you guys are doing a great job as well. Like, I loved listening to your conversation with DIY Perks. Like, that guy's
was a
legendary.
lot of fun.
He was a great guy. He's one of those people that it's like, wow, he was a great interview and just a great person. And I don't know, we kind of felt like we made a new friend, I guess. So
Definitely.
Yeah, we talked
Look, Mum,
about
No
it for almost
Computer.
an hour after that show, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's a
nice.
really good guy.
Yeah,
very
super
nice
down
guy.
to earth. You also spoke to Look Mum No Computer, who I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, we're big fans of him too. Actually, I don't know. It was kind of like we lined him up. Actually, my former partner Max lined him up, and it was a funny story because during the whole interview, he's like drilling something. He's like making one of his contraptions, and he's still able to carry on this conversation. And it was the weirdest thing because talking to him was just like watching him on YouTube. He's exactly the same person. He's quite entertaining.
He is. He's very entertaining. He's like a real sort of renegade kind of punk character. For some reason, I always, when I see him, I kind of think of Keith Flint of The Prodigy. There's something about those two guys that in my mind, they're connected in some weird way.
Who knows? Maybe he'll do a duo album at some point. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. We've gotten certainly have had some good guests, and we enjoy it. But like you said, I asked the question because it's an interesting question. But I think Pat and I both kind of knew the answer, which is, somebody's mowing the lawn, which is probably just time constraints. I would imagine that's what it comes down to at the end. At the end of the day, as much fun as this is, it does take time.
Yeah, I would say roughly 8 hours per episode in overall, and if you times that by 50, it's quite a lot of time. But I'm not. I would love to do like a retrospective of the things that I've learned doing it, and people told me that I was good at it, and I don't necessarily feel like I was good at it. I think that's probably another part of it, was like my confidence in my ability. Even though I was getting massive artists, I was kind of like, maybe I've always been very self-critical, and I think that was maybe
Imposter
part of it.
syndrome is real.
For me, definitely. I kind of have quite bad anxiety. I know, like, on the outside, I'm quite good at hiding it though, so I do kind of suffer with that, and so I'm my own biggest critic in everything that I do. So in a good way though, it kind of pushes me forward to like be the best I can.
Yeah, that's true. I think stuff like that, anything like that's kind of a, it's a double-edged sword, because obviously, if you know enough to know you don't know much about it, then maybe you are pretty good at it. But at the same time, I don't know, what is it, the Dunning-Kruger effect? Is that what they call it? When you don't know anything about this, but you definitely know you're the expert, and that's it's like when you think maybe you're not so good, maybe you are actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's like when you know loads about a subject, you also know what you don't know about it better.
Yeah.
So yeah.